Silicon Valley is part of the growing opposition against US President Donald Trump's travel ban. More than 100 tech companies, from household names to startups, are joining forces in the legal battle against the order. CNN's Kyung La explains why.
Well, John, in a rare coordinated legal move, 97 tech companies have filed a legal brief with the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. This is a number of companies, recognizable ones like Apple and Google and Intel, to startup companies. And what they have said in the legal brief is that they feel that the executive order violates immigration laws and the Constitution. And this brief also signals the deep level of animosity that Silicon Valley has to the executive order. Many of these tech companies are established by and they are run by immigrants. They rely on immigrants in many cases as their employee base, and they've also seen their own employees pushing their CEOs, having protests on the front lawns of their corporate offices, pushing CEOs to try to do something more definitive. So this legal brief is one definitive move. But we also saw a public definitive move. During the Super Bowl, there were a number of commercials that celebrated multiculturalism. Many of those ads were, in fact, paid for by tech companies who signed on to this legal brief. And it's a clear sign of the opposition that these companies will spend money in order to make that point. Many of these companies are based here in California, a progressive state, a state that in many cases plans to lead the opposition to the Trump administration. John?
Kyung, thank you. Now, Laurie Schwartz, co-founder of StoryTech, joins me now for more on this. So, Laurie, has there ever been anything like this before where the tech companies have come together with what seems like a great deal of urgency and speed to oppose an issue and a U.S. president?
No, this is an absolute unique moment in time, and the number is actually up to 130 companies, and it came together swiftly as well. So this is a really unique situation.
Well, some of these companies, the richest and the biggest tech companies in the world, how much leverage will they have with this lawsuit?
Oh, I think they'll have a lot of leverage. They are multinational companies. They are employing hundreds and thousands of people in this country. They also represent some of the greatest technology IP globally. They're what Trump would even quote as being some of America's greatest. So I think they're going to be very powerful.
You know, these companies, in the past at least, they try to stay out of politics. How vulnerable could they be, if there's a presidential tweet or maybe there's backlash from Trump supporters who actually agree with his travel ban?
Well, the thing about this is there's power in numbers, right? I mean, we're talking about 130 companies. And while he may be able to impact a company with a singular tweet, it's going to be very difficult for him to impact all of these companies. And we're talking about Apple, Facebook, Google, Microsoft, Netflix, Twitter, Uber, Lyft, Pinterest, Yelp, Square. I mean, on and on. Very popular, very highly used, big brands in the technology space. So I think it's going to be very difficult. These are all fan-based companies, too. These are companies that people love, brands that people love. So I think it's going to be difficult for him to really knock them down in that traditional way.
Just after the election, we saw all the tech CEOs heading off to Trump Tower. They met with the then president-elect Donald Trump. It was, talked about it being a positive, constructive meeting. Is there a sense now that maybe that meeting was just smoke and mirrors?
I mean, I think there's a philosophy for some to stay in there and to see if they can affect change, right? So we have Elon Musk, who's still staying attached to Trump with the hopes of really impacting policy. However, you have someone like Travis from Uber, who basically just from pressure from his own company and the public had to step down from being in Trump's group. So I think it's going to be a little bit of both. You're going to have some folks who are going to stay in there and see if they can really have some impact. And I think Elon Musk really believes that, that getting in there and partnering is going to help impact policy. So we'll see. He might be the type of executive that can do that. And certainly Trump likes to surround himself with great minds and popular people and folk heroes in a certain way. So it's going to be an interesting mixture, I think.
An interesting mix, absolutely. We've been saying that a lot lately. Laurie, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
It's a pleasure.